Time for Criminal Law 101
with criminal defense attorney Ken Eulo from the law firm of Smith and Eulo
on 101.1 WJRR.
All right. Hey, good morning, Ken Eulo. What's happening, buddy?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing? Have a good weekend?
Good weekend, yeah.
Solid. You went to Pitmasters and Pourers, huh?
I did. You know, I was just telling you guys it was tough to judge, right? You had Chinese in one realm, and then you had ribs in the other. How do you pick?
Exactly. That's something I noticed out there too. But it's such a. I mean,
although a lot of Chinese
delicious
places make a hell of a barbecue rib.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But a ton of great food out there, drinks, entertainment, music. So hopefully everybody had a good time. I know Mel was hosting it. I couldn't do it. And Pat, you couldn't do it. Mel, step it up for the team.
All right. Criminal Law 101. Ken Eulo from Smith and Eulo is a criminal defense attorney, obviously. This is a brand new legal segment here. We got to know Ken last week, and he's going to be here every Monday at this time. If you've got a criminal case or situation you find yourself in, and you believe you need an attorney, Ken's and his team are available to help you.
And their website, Smith, the one thing I noticed, it's and is spelled out, smithandeulo.com. So that's smithandeulo.com.
So, you got any hot cases going right now, or you managed to carve out time? I know how busy attorneys are to get in here and see us, but
you know what I've been doing for the office is mostly the appellate work for the office. We really haven't had an appellate division before. I kind of switched my role. So right now I'm doing a lot of the appeal cases. I actually visited a guy on death row on Thursday, which was pretty interesting. And it's pretty eerie. You know, you see that movie, The Green Mile, right?
Yeah.
And I'm walking in the prison, and this is the first time I've actually been to this prison. I think it's over in
Stark, right? Is he the one in?
Yeah, right. And they have this long like yard, like it's like this green yard, and you're walking down, and it feels like you're walking like the Green Mile to this. It's crazy.
Is he a little bit on edge with the way the death warrants have been getting signed? And there's 11 of them so far this year.
You know, it's surprising, right? You go and you talk to this guy, and he did not. He seemed like a regular guy, just having a normal conversation. I was expecting like some fear or some sort of feeling, but no, it was just like a normal human conversation.
Did you have any fear walking in?
No. I mean, I've been going to jails and prisons for the last 15 years of my life. So
true, but still, if I'm going to death row, I am going to ask him what his last meal is. Because
22526 is our text line if you got something you want to run by Ken.
And not just pot and guns question. We just got to nip it in the bud.
Can we just take it easy on the pot and guns? It's just, I don't know what else can be said that hasn't been said already. So with that, and we're not trying to be overly harsh, just being honest here. There are a couple of obviously huge stories I wanted to get your thought on. Sure. Tomorrow, the guy accused of killing Charlie Kirk will make his appearance in court. It's been said that he is not cooperating whatsoever, although his family obviously is. It sounds like his roommate is. And you've got a dynamic here where I'm not quite sure. You've got both the state of Utah and the federal government, both with their sights on this guy.
Sure, yeah. So I've been doing a little bit of reading on the case. It seems like they're just going to be pursuing it in the state level.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That's what I have been reading. I mean, you never know when the when the federal government's also going to kind of throw something in there. I saw on that train stabbing case, they have dual charges on that individual. They went after on the state side for the murder, and they charged the terrorism on the federal part of that. So
because that comes into play now, that's one of the results of after 9/11. If you create terror or panic on a public transportation situation, the Fed the governance comes in at that point as well. So he's facing it on two fronts with that character, huh?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you have a state like North Carolina, which still has the death penalty, but from what I've read, they haven't had any kind of public execution since 2006.
They need to step it up like Florida has been.
Right? But you look at the terrorism charge, and that carries a death penalty.
Yeah.
Right? So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, right? Because you have, this murder charge, and then you have this dual sort of death penalty on the back end that can kind of maybe supersede the state case. So I think that's kind of an interesting play.
Hey, how about over back to Utah?
Oh, yeah.
The irony that one of their methods of execution there is firing squad.
I read that, and we were all kind of, It was interesting, definitely.
How apropos would that be?
Oh,
Right?
beautiful. And if they expedite it, all right. Sorry you're not cooperating, you little S.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a criminal defense attorney, Ken, but I mean, that whole situation there, you want to talk about people just being like freaked out and just what that has set off is, I don't know ultimately what the repercussions, big scheme of things are going to be on this.
You know, I've never personally handled a death penalty case, but we have people in our office that do. But, you know, I do think that the reality of those types of cases is I think that the lawyers are mostly just fighting to keep their person from dying, really just trying to keep it as a life sentence.
Now, here's a question. Because I heard somebody talking about this, and I go, no, it was premeditated. He walked through everything. Could they use the insanity plea? Could they? I mean, of course, a lawyer's probably going to try, but I don't know if you could pull insanity with somebody that planned the whole thing out.
I mean, you got a couple of angles there, right? I mean, you have insanity and you also have competency, right? So competency issue comes into play is the person even competent to stand trial? And I think that you're definitely going to have a lot of experts that come in to talk about whether or not this person's even competent. I mean, you might start seeing, you know, feigned hallucinations and things like that. I mean, and then you have, you know, a bunch of experts coming in over the course of the next year evaluating this person. And then you have the insanity defense, which basically, you know, says the person just wasn't in their right mind. There's a certain legal standard for it. They didn't know what they were doing. Some sort of mental health issue impacted their ability to understand what they were doing. I mean, I tend to agree with you. I think that's a very difficult defense when you see the level of calculation and planning and stuff like that. But, you know, I mean, there is no limit to that. I mean, in theory, a person could be suffering from a mental health issue that makes them think that they're going to fight terrorism or something like that. I mean, I know that's an absurd example, right? But you have the idea that this person might not be in their right capacity.
All right. On an extended part of what's going on with that case, I want you to speak from a legal perspective about free speech, the limits of free speech, and the consequences of said free speech. We talked a lot about this in the immediate aftermath of that killing of Charlie Kirk, that you've got a number of people who are glorifying, celebrating this thing and posting that online, and it's cost a lot of them their jobs. Now, we advocate for free speech, and we will go to the mat for free speech, but there is the caveat of you have to understand that not everything you say is going to be just absorbed with no consequences.
Repercussions.
How's that work?
You know, I think this is going down the rabbit hole, right?
Right.
I mean, you know, you look at states' obligations for employment and stuff like that. I mean, Florida, for example, is right to work state, right? Like, you can fire people for whatever reason you want, right? So, I mean, if a person is out there making hateful comments and celebrating death, I mean, in theory, I mean, there's nothing wrong with an employer firing somebody for that, right? But in the same token, I understand that people should be able to voice whatever's inside of them in terms of as long as it's respectful. So you got to walk the line, right? Like, you know, I think that if you're in a public sector, a lot of these people are teaching in schools and they're out there in a public way. I don't think that they should be necessarily celebrating death in a public forum.
And you said respectfully. I think that's one of the key words right there is anybody, and we said this over and over last week, anybody that can say they're happy that individual was shot and killed, and they need to stop and check themselves. Because that's somebody's life. I don't care whether you care for their opinions, like them, hate them, whatever. Yeah. You don't want to glorify an assassination.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
So it's going to be, again, we're talking with criminal defense attorney Ken Eulo from Smith and Eulo, fine law firm, criminal defense law firm here in Florida. If you ever need to get a hold of them, we'll give you the contact info again here in a moment. Another thing I want to ask you about this Ryan Ruth guy who's currently on trial down in Fort Pierce. He's defending himself after attempting to shoot the president last year in West Palm Beach. and I don't know if you've been following this or not. This guy he obviously knows nothing about courtroom procedure, because the judge is constantly having to, bounce him back into, hey, come on, dude.
Dial it back, buddy.
The idea of defending yourself, where is this ever a good idea, Ken?
I don't think it's ever a good idea.
Even if you're an attorney, right? You get an attorney.
They always say, that you should never represent yourself, even if you are an attorney, because your emotion gets involved, right? You don't want to make these arguments from a purely emotional standpoint. You want to be able to separate yourself from your emotions and just argue the facts and the law. And when you have people, getting into a courtroom that have something on the line, which is their entire life, you start getting your emotion involved, and you say things that are just weird and really not to the point of the subject. I heard the guy. I wrote down a couple of the things the guy had said. Apparently, during the opening statements, he said, "What is our intent? To love one another." Right? and then he made references to Hitler and Vladimir Putin and things like that. God. So, it's weird. And I think that when you have a jury that's looking at whether a person did something or didn't do something, you don't want the weird stuff coming out, right?
Does him, by doing this, though, possibly open the door to him coming back when he does get an attorney to say, clearly my client was not competent to do this, wasn't of his right mind, and all the things you just ran through?
So, it's funny, because when you represent yourself, you're waiving the right to later claim ineffective assistance of counsel.
All right, that answers that.
So there's another issue, right? Another problem with representing yourself is you're actually losing out on certain appellate rights, like coming back and saying ineffective assistance of counsel, my lawyer didn't do this, my lawyer didn't do that, right? So, there's another reason in itself that you want to be able to have that avenue on the back end to say, hey, my lawyer didn't act properly in my defense, I want another bite at the apple. So he loses that by representing himself.
Oh.
So, okay, that's interesting. It's going to be curious to see how that case ultimately plays out and concludes. If you have a situation where you think you're going to need an attorney, take Ken's advice. Don't represent yourself.
Absolutely not.
Get a hold of an attorney which is applicable to whatever the scenario may be appropriate. With you guys, anything from, you could be facing something from a DUI all the way up to murder. You guys cover it all and in between.
We do, absolutely. All the way from a low traffic ticket all the way up to first-degree capital murder.
Criminal law is the specialty. It's smithandeulo.com. Smith, ANDEULO.com. And you can text us 22526, and I'll pass on the website as well.
Or if you have questions you want to get to Ken, you can get him over on the text line 22526. We'll put him in front of you each week. But this week has been abnormal, and with just the sheer volume of some of these big cases, we definitely want to take some time to talk more about it with you. So we appreciate your insights.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you guys want to reach me directly, you can reach me at ken@smithandeulo.com. I would love to hear from you guys.
All right. Again, give that one more time, Ken.
That's Ken, Ken, at smithandeulo, EULO.com.
And spell out and.
All right.
Spell out and, yeah.
All right. Appreciate it. And we'll see you again next Monday, Ken.
Great seeing you guys.
All right. Lynch and Taco's commercial-free Workday Rock Block is coming up next.
Lynch and Taco.
Download the iHeartRadio app.